Hey guys,
Hey,
I'm so excited because I've got this cool southwestern motif here.
so
I don't know where
great.
this is from. Is that what's this? What's this?
Is that Monument Valley?
I wonder if it's Monument Valley. Valley. I've never been there. Have you?
No, and it was not listed on the selection of photographs that I was going to within the program.
Canva.
Yeah.
And I've got all this swag from Amy. Like I always get swag from Amy. It's like wow.
Swag.
It was awesome. Beautiful things. I still aspire to the postcard.
Someday, all in good time.
Someday I will get there.
You have the postcard. You just have to print it.
Right.
It's there.
That's right.
Well, how do we want to start today?
I want to start by saying I think it was 3 really cool haiku poems. I mean, just really good stuff.
That totally went together, right? Like when I this morning sat down and read them all and I was like, oh my goodness, there's like a synergy that we always seem to find on the topics this month. It was crazy.
Well, and it's interesting. I didn't think about this when I wrote mine, but I was thinking about it as I was reading the others. This week is also, or this month is also Pentecost, and so there's all that. There's some of that involved here too. Somehow, I hadn't thought about it, but when you start to think about it, and I started thinking about that when I was sending out these haikus to people, and you know how I put something on the other side, and so that's when I started thinking, oh wow, there's something there. So
how do you pronounce this word? What is this word?
Petrichor?
Yeah, petrichor.
Or petrichor? I'm not sure, but I think it's petrichor.
And that's the smell of the earth after rain. Is that right? I had never heard that word, and then I saw it somewhere else, and then I was like, that's the word that Michael had on his envelope.
I love that word. I love that smell. And so when well, I like words in general.
Yeah.
Well, who do we want to start with? I have Amy's on top, but it could be anybody's.
Yeah, I actually think that the order is somewhat important here, and I actually think it's important to start with Amy's.
Oh, okay.
So you'll read it yours.
Okay.
Then we'll describe what we wrote. Then you'll describe what you wrote.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay.
So mine this month is simply, we are made of stars, shimmering, shining, breathing. Like calls out to like.
You want to go first, Davin, or you want me to?
Yeah, I'll go first. Our haiku this month presented a clear linear progression, I think. So I'm beginning with Amy's. First, thank you for the additional material. So the super cool hope card. But in particular, this additional context here to the haiku, inspired by and the picture of the page from the book. Love that stuff. But knowing the inspiration for your thoughts in the haiku is very meaningful. Permeability is what comes to mind as I read your poem. We imagine hard and fast boundaries between us and the world, between the knower and the known, between being and becoming, between the past, the present, and the future. But these boundaries are so much more complicated than they appear and so much messier. Certainly, what is inside our skin and outside our skin has significances, but we operate, and we're trained to operate, as if that is the end of the story. Life is permeable, though. Experience is permeable. One piece bleeds into the next, and we are glorious as a result. Confused, but glorious. Knowing that every breath, every bite, every step puts us in touch with the magnitude of creation is intimidating, because infinity is really close. It's part of us, and we are a part of it, whether we like it or not. It's also comforting to be part of something much larger than ourselves, whether we like it or not.
Wow.
I'm surrounded by brilliance. Nice. you'll see a similar word or two, maybe, perhaps, in what I wrote. So, again, Amy. So, Amy's haiku came with all sorts of swag. A little card with hope written on the front, and when opened, an aphorism about hope, metaphorically being the sun we move toward. As well, on Amy's own card, in addition to her haiku, we find a quotation about the vastness of stars and how we, open quote, are made from the remnants of stars, from a book by Ella Francis Sanders. All of this tees up Amy's haiku so well. Her phrase, "we are made of stars," made me feel part of the universe and all universes, and Galileo and astronomers and cosmologists and Carl Sagan. Her second phrase, "shimmering, shining, breathing," made me feel part of dreams and dreamers and poets and imagination light. Her third phrase, "like calls out to light," made me feel part of an organic ecological whole, where imagination interacts with atoms, which interact with suns, which interact with sunny people, who interact with stars. And all are like all. All the universe calls out to itself, and all call out to all the universe. And in the dark of the space between every atom and every person and every planet or earth, the invisible dark matter permeates all. The sparkling light, this visible breath of light, fills everything to the full. Ruach, the pneuma light, are bellows of airless breath of living light surrounding and permeating all. That's what I got.
Wow. Oh my gosh. I love all that you got from my simple little, yeah, it is.
I find it amazing. And the word permeates, just permeated between Davin and me, just right there.
Yeah.
I know. Well, and I mean, my response is much shorter than what both of you wrote, but I didn't get to the word permeate, but I was in my spirit. I just hadn't articulated that word yet, but that was what I was feeling as I was writing. So, you are made from the remnant of stars. Each year, 14,000 tons of starry dust falls to the earth. And that is a quote from Ella Francis Sanders in the book, Eating the Sun, Small Musings on a Vast Universe, which is a fantastic book of essays about science. So this is just what I wrote, a short little thing. That line by Ella Francis Sanders captured my attention. Science writing isn't usually what I read, but this collection of essays was recommended. I can't even comprehend 14,000 tons of stardust. It's easy to think we are here and the sky is there and we're separated by the vastness, and yet dust is floating down from that vastness and creating life. The interconnection between place, vastness, and life is dust. Everything is truly sacred. I love the sense of circle and interconnectedness that stardust infused in our soul means. Each haiku this month seems to hit on that very theme. So interesting how that works.
You know, it's so interesting. And you know, this is a side topic, but this is kind of what Davin and I and a colleague of ours were talking about regarding formation and stardust and all that, and how that's, you know, so related. It's just kind of interesting, I think.
Yeah. Well, you just think that, you know, the outer space, the moon, the stars are so far away, like, and then to think the dust that I'm around my house somehow is 14,000 tons. It's just like mind blowing.
Yeah. Science is crazy.
Yeah, it really is. It really is.
I love it.
So what is, I was gonna say, what's next, Davin, in the flow?
Oh yeah, what is next in the flow?
Michael, your haiku.
I think it's just so that he can go last.
Oh, okay.
So here's the haiku. Invisible air enters my nostrils, my lungs. Now I am the sky. And then,
do you want to go, Davin?
Yeah. All right. The handwriting on the envelope is so cool. I just had it here. I'm going to show it. Where did it go? Yeah. So the handwriting on the envelope.
Mm-hmm.
It makes an already wonderfully personal practice even more so. Thank you. You begin where Amy stops, or something like that. What is the action of Amy's permeability? How does it happen? Birth and death are moments of dramatic permeability. When one person transforms into something entirely different, but not entirely separate from what she was before. Eating, like fire, transforms one substance into another. More mundane, less dramatic is our breath. This simple life-sustaining action carries more significance than we can conveniently recognize, though. If each breath reminds us of what is occurring, we'd all become mystics. But we also wouldn't get much else accomplished for the distraction. How wonderful, though, to occasionally and intentionally recall that each breath makes us more than we were before. As Michael says, now I am the sky. Our existence is permeable. Our divisions are not hard and fast. There is more connecting us than separating us.
Oh, I love it.
Wow.
Love it, love it, love it.
Short little poems just inspire a lot of stuff.
It's amazing. All right, so my response was, this haiku is light as air. I read the haiku and find myself breathing deeper, slowing down, pausing. In the rush of days, it's easy to forget to breathe. Not literally, of course, but figuratively. These 11 words remind me of the circle that we live in. We are not self-contained and independent. We are dependent and interdependent on each other. We are not outside of the system. We are a part of the system. What we let in, what we invite in, creates us. It is all too easy to believe we must look outside of ourselves to create and be. And yet this haiku reminds us that when we pay attention to our breath, we are free. We are wide, we are expansive, we are uncontained.
We are uncontained.
Nice.
So
Nice.
that's Walt Whitman-esque.
Oh yeah.
Okay, my turn.
Yeah.
What's happening in as these weeks are going on, that as I write, and then I find that my writing gets longer and longer. Not for mine as much as it is for y'all's. I don't know why that is. Maybe it's because I don't know why that is, but you know, when we started, you know, a couple sentences, and now look at this, we've got stuff. So air to me is a miracle. Unless we pollute it, it can't be seen. Though on a rainy day it can be smelled, and richly. It brings life with each breath. While it is not strictly speaking universal, it is global. It brings life, it allows living. Take it away and life can't be sustained. Thinking about breathing, of course, takes away the natural givenness of it, just as thinking interferes with being fully present. The practice of contemplation is one that, by emptying the mind, a person can sense themselves being a part of everyone and at its best, one with everything. By breathing in, I gather all that is, was, and ever will be. Breathing out, I send myself out to be all that is, was, and ever will be. For we are made of stars, Amy indeed, and all of that is me calls out to all, like it or not.
I love it.
Did you really have like it or not on your?
I love it.
Well, it's funny. This week I had the benefit of actually seeing your haiku, and so it included my description of my own. It's kind of interesting. Okay, saddle up, Davin. Saddle up.
So it's called Inextinguishable Western Hope. The hope of the West. Helplessness becomes courage. The landscape inspires.
I love this. Let me go.
Go, Amy, go.
What role does place play in our collective culture? As a child of the West, born and raised in one of the smallest counties in Idaho, place has always been more than just location. Place has shaped my identity. Today, many years after I moved away, I still have the contour of the mountains that created our East-West Valley memorized. I see pictures of the valley and I know where the photographer stood to capture the mountains from that angle. The stories of pioneers, Indians, miners, herders, wanderers, and homesteaders were a part of the landscape and lore that shaped us. This haiku between the photo and the word captures the essence of the West. Several generations ago, all of my family on both sides made courageous, desperate, intentional decisions to leave the comfort of family in the East and journey west. They came with hope, courage, fear, tenacity, stubbornness, and a spirit of adventure. How do the echoes of those that came before shape who we are today? The landscape does shape and inspire. We are products of place.
Wow. I love that. I love that. I love that. So just building on that, really, the picture really was helpful in situating this whole piece.
Mm-hmm.
Wallace Stegner, and I haven't read much of Wallace Stegner, just a little bit, and West, and then anyway. So anyway, my parents, this goes back to parents. Isn't it funny how this all kind of goes to our history? My parents, especially my mom, were huge Louis L'Amour fans. Mm. After my mom and dad, moved to New Mexico from Kansas, they developed a love of the Southwest as well. And writers like Tony Hillerman, who Dad knew at the University of New Mexico. I'm rereading, probably for the 5th or 6th time, a Louis L'Amour book right now. The storylines are always similar. A wanderer, or at least a person, a man in those days, was in uncharted territory. He was alone, had overwhelming challenges, and the situation looked hopeless. But this was an individual made of strong material and had enormous will, courage to step beyond any self-doubts and pulling out virtues of character, honesty, fairness, yes, courage, love of family, and perseverance that allowed him to save the day, unite with his family or sweetheart, and settle into a simple and humble life. This haiku reminded me of New Mexico, where I lived for 30 years, where the challenges and the beauty of the desert and the mountains produced Native American and Hispanic arts and crafts and architecture and retreat centers in Georgia O'Keeffe. This haiku reminded me of Idaho, where I've now lived for 15 years and live. In days of pandemic, I live in a safe city, but also just 20 minutes from desert foothills and the road to northern Idaho. When I need inspiration from the landscape, when I need time to think, when I need to remember that there is more than face masks and self-serving politics, when I need hope and to know what to do, I have the hope of the West, just minutes away. Beauty, solitude, dreams, reflection, history, all mixed into the ground and of the land that surrounds. This haiku reminded me that the land is what's real and substantive, while social media, political quackery, self-serving greed and power are ephemeral, superficial, and sand. The landscape inspires. Helplessness becomes courage. The territory is real. The dirt is solid. You can stand on it. Therein lies hope. Mm. That's what I got.
Wow.
Good work, guys.
17 syllables goes a long way, doesn't it?
Sure does.
Amazing.
All right. In all of this, there is inextinguishable hope. Western novels always move through the harsh realities of an unforgiving landscape, ultimately hinging on the juxtaposition of freedom and potential of wide open spaces versus the dangers of isolation and fear. The merger of human and nature is inescapable and inevitable in the West. Whether we're in an Ohio suburb or the Wind River Mountains, we are part of nature, part of the infinity surrounding us. The things we breathe and eat become us, so we are always evolving, always resurrecting, always new. The harshness of the Western landscape inspires because it reminds us of the precariousness of life and the need to push on regardless. And in that pursuit, we are also made new.
Wow.
That's a lot of fun, guys.
This is so great.
It's huge. It's great.
So good.
I love as much as anything putting these things together. It's just, it is a practice. It's a practice. So, and the envelopes have become a part of that practice. And so, when I was looking at the envelope you showed me, well, as you know, I send these out every day. That's right. That's right. As you know, I send those out every day. Well, as the month goes by, because I'll try to do 30, as the month goes by, the back becomes more filled.
Oh, really?
I've got more ideas. Oh, yeah, there's something more I want to put on the back of this. And so it's just an interesting process. It's a living process.
I think I told you guys in an email, but I was doing a phone call with someone and talking about just like this idea that I've had like imprinted on my soul for years about smaller and deeper, like to be smaller and deeper. And I had mentioned that this writing haiku practice, and he was like, wait, stop. You're telling me you write haikus, which are 17 syllables. Like that's the ultimate in learning about what smaller and deeper means. So I've actually been writing my haikus on smaller and deeper over this month so that I can learn what that means in the form of, like in a haiku.
That's great.
Yeah. It's been an interesting practice just to think, okay, how can I write more about smaller and what that means in 17 syllables?
Very cool.
Evolving practice.
It's definitely evolving practice. Okay.
So
Anything else